Okay, so the next piece we'll read the words. Okay, so now the happy couple is outside of Eden. We don't know where they've settled. Presumably they're in Hebron, because why else would they be buried there? How did they ever get to Hebron?
That's a good question.
Whoever took them there. Okay, maybe they were not in Hebron. Maybe they were hanging out in Yerushalayim, because we know they were just at Har
That's where the
Moriah.
Korban was, yeah.
Okay. But they decide to invest in humanity once again. And no, actually, that's Shes. So now there's going to be a question here. This is the story of Cain and Abel, and the question is, did this happen in Eden or outside of Eden? So certainly when we get to the story of Cain and Abel, when their argument, that's happening outside of Eden, for sure.
Right.
That's the whole machloket there, whether to cultivate the land or not. But the question here is where they were. The Midrash talks about them being born in Gan Eden.
Right.
So whatever, these are all kinds of things that can come up. Let's just see what how the Alshech discusses it. But here goes, Perek Daled. V'ha'adam yadad chava ishto, and the man, which usually means mankind. It doesn't mean the individual Adam, but Adam here, he knew his wife Chava, and over here that means that he was intimate with her. Vatahar, right? She conceived. Vateled, and she bore as Cain. Why does it say es Cain? It should say Cain.
Right.
But Vateled Cain, es Cain, right? And she bore the Cain, the guy we know as Cain. So it tells us his name, and then it says Vatomer, and she said, Kaniti ish es Adonai. I've acquired, or I've made another human being with God. So is that an explanation of his name? It's like, and Martha gave birth to Abraham, and she decided, you know what, I'm going to call him Abraham, because why are you telling me his name is Cain first? Okay? And then it says, Vatosif laledet, and she added upon that birth another birth. It doesn't say, and she vateled gam. Vatosef, she added to that. There's some sort of addition here, right? It's not really, meaning one can question the word here, the choice of word. As Achiv, his brother, as Hevel. What's going on here? Obviously, if there's another guy, he's going to be his brother. And it says, oh, you know who he was? Hevel. But it doesn't say what she said, and doesn't say why she called him Hevel. And then it says, by the way, by the first birthday, their job description. One was a doctor and one was a lawyer. Okay. That's all it could have, a different pasuk, right? Why do we split up? It should, listen, if you asked me, right, I'd have one pasuk that says that she was pregnant and she had 2 sons. Why do you have to have 2 separate psukim, right? That everything happened and she had 1 son, and then second thought, by the way, afterthought, different verse, there was another son. Say, she was pregnant and she had 2 sons. One of them was named Cain because she said X, Y, and Z. You don't want to tell me why she named him Hevel? Okay, but say it differently, right? But the pasuk that says, by the way, there was this added Hevel in there, and then it says that when they got older, right away, what they were, who they identified as, and what they were involved in. So we skipped who knows how many years.
Right.
Or how many days or hours. Okay, so let's see. I like to ask a lot of questions, even that the Alshech won't address, because part of it is, in order to appreciate the Alshech, and in general, one has to have a certain sharpened approach to reading. So you have to basically point out as much as you can to get precise, to raise, and that if you do get the answers will sit well, because you appreciated all the different purposeful discrepancies in the psukim. Okay, so, Ve'adam yadas chava ishto. Hine hayaroi yomar. So the Alshech HaKadosh tells us, first off the bat, you know what the pasuk should have said? Vayeda Adam. V'lo ha'adam behei. Why is it saying the man, as opposed to what other man? And usually when we say ha'adam, it means mankind. Right? Behei hayediyah, with the genuine article, it's saying, right? With the capital Hey. V'hine afshar kivnu rabbeinu zal taretze. So it could be that this indeed is what troubled the rabbis, and they were coming to address this specifically when they said, Be'amram shetchila peresh shelo laholi banim legehenu. So according to this, he's saying this is actually after the sin. And initially, Adam Rishon said, you know what? I'm not going to have children. And he separated from Chava 130 years because he didn't want, in the fallen state of man, I'm just going to produce children and they're going to be mitigated human beings that are corrupted and they're just going to go straight to Gehenna. So what do I got to do that to anybody for? I got to fix myself first. So perhaps the Alshech HaKadosh says that this is coming to address, this happened before what the Pasuk is telling us here, and therefore it's saying, hey, ha'adam, why? So since Adam Rishon, maybe he changed his mind because he knew that after 26 generations, humanity was ultimately going to accept the Torah, and therefore humanity had hope. So he can go on, he should procreate and make children. And maybe all this occurred, meaning, okay, ha'adam, is meaning that this is perhaps what he's saying now intuitively is that it's coming to address the issue of the species itself.
Right.
So Adam had a quandary about should I perpetuate the species or not? And once he made a decision, it was a decision on behalf of Ha'adam. So that's why, right? At this point, that's what he's suggesting. However, he's going to say even deeper that Chazal, meaning Chazal said that what allowed him to make that changeover and consider the perpetuation of the species was the idea of the 26 generations. And now the Alshech is going to show you how that could have been, the Chazal saw that directly in the word ha'adam. Okay? So, and it could be that it occurred to our sages, if you look at each of these 5 words, if you look at the value of the acronym that they make, meaning Ve'ha'adam yada et chava ishto, okay, ma she'en ken im haya omer vayeda Adam, if it would have said Vayeda Adam, okay, so let's do the math here. Let's see.
5, 6, 10, 16, 17, 20.
I'm sorry, he's saying 5 letters from the word Ve'ha'adam.
Sorry, 5 letters from the word.
Yeah, the 5 letters in the word Va'adam. So you have 6 and 5, that's 11, and 1, that's 12, and 4, that's 16, and Mem is 40. So how do you have 26 here? Okay, he's saying if it would have said Vayeda Adam, and if it would have said Chava, one second, I'm trying to figure out the math here. Okay. So there was 26 dorot, right? Mimispar Rashi Tevot Shel Chamesh Tevot Elo. Oh, okay. So let's say you have 6 and 10, and 1, and 8, and 1. That's 26, right? That's so then why would it be any different if it would have said...
If you didn't have the et, you would have 25.
But what's the difference between Ha'adam and Adam? So that's not related. Okay, so the Alshech is saying like this: if you add up the Rashi Tevot, you get 26,
right? And
that's why it says Ha'adam. There was a consideration of the species. Okay, right. Okay,
I see.
And right, V'od roi lasim lev. Meaning, if Ha'adam also is referring to humanity, then it wouldn't have made sense to mention Chava. V'od roi lasim lev. And also, it is worthy to take note, Sheharoi Yomar, it should have said, Vatikra Shemo Cain, and she called him Cain. It shouldn't have said, and she birthed Cain, and she said, right? It should have said, and she called him Cain. And you see that many, many times in the Chumash. For example, if you see in Parshas Vayetze, every time that they name one of the children of Yaakov, it says, and they gave him the name, because saying, etc., etc. Here, the formula is totally different. Okay? V'chein behevel. And also by Hevel, it should have said that she called him Hevel. The Pasuk takes for granted, tells us that Cain was born and Hevel was born independent or regardless of what she actually said and how she addressed them. Okay? Whether it gives a reason or not. Ach ba'amrova teilet es Cain. However...
So I just wanted to clarify. Yeah. So instead of saying Vatikra Shemot Cain, what would you want it to have said?
No, that's what it should have said.
It
doesn't say that. It says that she bore Cain, and by the way, she said, I acquired a man with God, which is presumably that's the explanation of why his name was Cain, but she doesn't say.
V'tikra.
Yeah. Okay, so it should have said that, and it does not. And even if it doesn't say the reason why she called Hevel Hevel, but presumably it gives the reason why she called Cain Cain, it could have also said, instead of saying, and she bore Hevel, it should have said, and she bore another son, and she called him Hevel, but it doesn't. Okay? Which sounds like it was predestined. That was their name. Okay? And when the verse actually says, and she bore Cain, and it says, et achiv et Hevel, and his brother Hevel, it's as if automatically it was known the names that they were meant to have before they were even fashioned or created. That's very weird. Okay? Their names were, it's stating their obvious, in a simple, matter-of-fact way, that their being was Cain and Hevel, regardless of what names they got.
Yeah.
Okay? As if automatically it was known, their names, Shem, Kol Echad, the name of each one, even before they were conceived. And that seems kind of weird. And if you're going to tell me that in the first verse when it says his name was Cain, and then it says, and she said, and it quotes that she acquired man with God, and that's over there presumably the explanation of why he's called Cain, even though the verse does not link the two, right? It should have said, Vatomer, and she said, Kaniti. And Achakach, and then it should have said, and therefore, Vatikra Shemo Cain, and she called him Cain. That would have been a classic. You have that so many times in the Chumash. Okay? And by Hevel, it doesn't even say she named him, why she named him, it just says, and he was Hevel. Ve'od, another question. What does she mean at all when she says, I have acquired a man with God? What does it mean? What has she acquired? Ve'od, and one more. Amra, when the verse says, Kanisi ish et Hashem, I have acquired a man with Hashem, who built move on, that doesn't make sense. What is she saying? With God, she's acquired. What does that mean? And why is it that Cain was a doctor and Hevel was a lawyer? What's the significance of that? Right? Why does that have to say, why is the Torah telling me, by the way, it's telling me big things, seemingly in a deeper, more than just a personal historical level of their coming into being. It's telling me deep things about him, and it has to tell me Cain served the earth and Hevel was a shepherd. Okay, those are our questions. Okay. I think this is an excellent place to pause.
Okay. You love the cliffhangers.
I've just taken them as a matter of fact in Torah learning. And it's brought down so many different ways that in order to learn Torah, a person has to be prepared to live with questions for years. Get comfortable with mamish, living with questions.
Very good.
Okay.
Hazak u'baruch.